Okay.
Hi, Doreen.
Hi,
Welcome.
Len.
Thank you so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate it. And I also wanted to officially welcome you to our team. You are our newest
Mm-hmm.
onboarded partner, assisting us with immigration support in Rwanda. And we're so thrilled to have you here and to be working together very, very soon. Um, I wanted to start off with you telling our listeners a little bit about yourself, your
Mm-hmm.
specialty practice, the firm. If you can give us a
Mm-hmm.
glimpse into that, that would be great.
Okay, thanks, Len. It's great to join Relocation Africa. It's been quite a journey, and I can't wait to actually be part of the family. About a bit about myself. I am obviously a lawyer, as you know, and I do corporate commercial mostly, and we do quite a bit investments, advisory, immigration and relocation, strategic advisory, and quite a bit in intellectual property. The firm started off as Blue Line. It is now AfriLex. It's now AfriLex. It started in 2018, end of 2018. So we are quite young, but we've
Yes.
been doing quite a bit. And yeah, and now we basically, I think you know that we work out both here and out in our sister country, and
Yes.
and yeah, in Tanzania. And yeah, we are excited about this opportunity to work with you.
Yeah, we are too. We're actually so excited, which is why we want to let our listeners know that you're out there and that Rwanda is one of our locations that we will be able to assist with
Mm-hmm.
immigration support in particular. So, what I really want you to delve into a little bit is if you can give us sort of a brief insight into the current immigration policies and procedures that are in place as a response to COVID-19. This pandemic has had quite an impact, particularly on our immigration industry and
Mm-hmm.
mobility in general. So if you can give us
Mm-hmm.
just a glimpse into what's going on in Rwanda right now with all the policies currently in effect.
Thanks, Lynn. So very little has actually changed in terms of um, people who were inside the country versus outside the country, in the sense that Rwanda has been very responsive, and they were among the first countries to order a total lockdown. But even with the total lockdown, people who had valid visas could leave. There were scheduled flights and to repatriate people, and those were to come in who had valid work permits or resident permits could also come in. Obviously, when you do come in, there's a period of quarantine, of mandatory quarantine in place. Before it was 14 days, it is now down to 7 days. And
Okay.
and however, other than that, our immigration offices are open.
Okay.
A lot of our visas are done online anyway.
Oh, I see.
It's
Okay.
very little, yeah, very little physical. You only really have to make a trip maybe once or
Hmm.
twice,
Hmm.
but most of the applications and the questions are responded to online, even in the ordinary. So as such, we have
Okay.
not really been shocked
I see. Yes.
as other countries have
Yes,
been.
definitely. There've been a lot of other
Yeah.
jurisdictions that require sort of in-person submissions or interviews or something like that that has to be done in person. So your jurisdiction is lucky that they kind of have had to do business as usual,
Yeah.
in response to what's happening right now. So you say your immigration authorities are fully operational? Are applications
Yes.
being processed right now?
So for in theory, yes, but nobody's really traveling.
Yeah.
But we have recently opened up our tourism.
Oh,
Our
okay.
tourism is back online, and we are letting in chartered flights. Groups
Oh,
of people
okay.
do come in to visit the gorillas and etc. So
Yes,
we have
yes.
opened up that avenue. And of course, repatriation flights continue to come. People who want to come home, people who are working here and got stuck abroad and are welcome to come.
Yes.
So if you and we apply online, so you apply for a visa online,
yes,
or your permit, and you get it. It's approved online, and when you arrive, you have
yes,
it, so you get it stamped or handed to you
right,
at the entry point.
yes,
So, like I said, we are fully operational. Of course, we do. We have the whole 50%. We're doing rotational, so only 50% of people are in office to try and keep the social distancing,
yes,
etc., etc.
yes.
But the other 50 works at home and has been facilitated. Everybody has internet from their employer to make sure that business continues seamlessly.
Yes, of course. I mean, particularly for your
Yeah.
clientele. So were there any concessions or directives that were in place for those who were stuck inside Rwanda, in terms of their visa expiring? Were they given extensions?
Yes. So on the onset, I think it was March when we first locked down. Everybody who was stuck was given an automatic extension to July.
Okay.
And I know that they're still very flexible because they understand they're very flexible, and our immigration officers are willing to do extensions for people who warrant the extensions, who are stuck here, not
Yes.
on their own accord, but because of COVID.
Yes. Yes. No, I can definitely
Yeah.
understand that. Do these concessions that were implemented, did they also affect people who, prior to the lockdown, who had approved visas to come into the country, and then because they couldn't travel, how are you advising those clients? Did their visas expire? Do they have to start over? Are they sort of retroactive in a way? How have you been advising clients that are in that type of situation?
So I have not had that situation, because everyone is holding off to make any decisions, because they don't know when is COVID going to, is it going to be end of July, or is it going to be end of September? So everyone is really holding off making those decisions.
Yeah.
However, what I do know about immigration officers in Rwanda, or just Rwanda government generally, is that they are quite flexible in their approach to solve problems and to help citizens, and we are very investor and tourist friendly.
Yes.
And as such, I do believe that there would be very much room for negotiation. If you paid for a visa and couldn't use it because of COVID,
Yes.
I am sure there's flexibility there in issuing you a new visa at no cost, for example.
Okay.
So I absolutely believe that that's a discussion that they would be willing to have.
No, definitely.
However, they haven't put out official statements on the same.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Do you think that you're saying that your government is very open to the fact of the situation and wants to solve the problem and to accommodate people? So do you think that they are, or have they been a little flexible with regards to requirements? Have they waived any requirements in terms of either their visa applications or submissions, or is there anything that's in a visa that they may say, you know what, because you couldn't do this or that, we'll waive that? So for example, some have said, maybe the biometric in-person interviews not waived, but there's an alternative,
postponed.
Yeah. So is there anything like that you've experienced in Rwanda?
So again, the things that they could waive, but the way that they operate is very, it's very systematic. And a lot of the things are indeed submitted online. So for example, like the biometric, you would potentially only give it when you're collecting your visa or you're collecting your passport. So it doesn't become a problem until you actually, yes. So those must be far between. But no, they have not waived any requirements so far.
Okay. And how about just in general immigration question? You talk about Rwanda and how tourism is sort of getting its way back on track, and Is that a particular industry that's more favorable in Rwanda when it comes to immigration, or are there other industries that that the government may favor more, or is everyone kind of treated equally?
So the reason tourism, I think, is currently getting a lot of attention is because it's the industry that got hit the most due to COVID, and we rely a lot on that foreign on that money as a country, and so now we are working overtime to ensure that it gets back on track. And so you will see waivers. So the tourism industry is definitely it's definitely getting certain concessions. I think they waived some corporate income tax. They waived some pay as you earn on employees who earn up to a certain threshold. They're really trying. However, I know that the Rwanda Development Board is working overtime to also see how to assist other industries. Overall, Rwanda does treat industries. Anyone who wants to come invest, I think, is treated in a certain equally. They try to equalize the field. And it's really, the question is, how much are you investing? How many jobs are you creating? Versus which sector are you investing in? Of course, the country has its priorities, which include manufacturing, ICT, mining, energy. There's some priority sectors, but that does not take away from the fact that if you are in the non-priority sector, quote unquote, you would not be able to negotiate certain incentives if you're bringing something big on the table.
That makes total sense. That makes sense. So in light of these industries, these businesses, these companies now, with what's happening now and sort of planning for the future, what would you recommend to companies who want to plan for the future regarding their staff, their business establishment? Is there anything a tidbit you can give to them that you would advise them on how to move as they start planning for post-COVID, the new normal, all these new words that we are learning now? So what would you recommend to them?
Well, first off, come to Rwanda, because Rwanda is quite the hub. Everything. I mean, starting a business here, you can do it in 6 hours. 6 hours, you will have your business certificate.
That's incredible.
It's incredible. It's really incredible when you come out here. It's really very different from what we are used to. I don't even think you get business registrations out in the West in that short period of time. No. But also, I do think there's lots of opportunity in COVID. It's one of those things. It's been bad, but there are a lot of opportunities to take advantage of.
Yes,
and
I agree with you.
Companies that are able to see that opportunity and jump on it quickly are the ones that are going to be the companies of the future.
Yes.
Now, in terms of staff and whatnot, I think the thing that we have learned most from this experience, and with all the layoffs and how there's lawsuits, and a couple of clients, have had to struggle with laying people off for force majeure reasons or for economic reasons. And our law is very strict on, if you lay off someone on economic reasons, how much you need to compensate them. So one of the advices is to augment and totally reinforce the force majeure.
Yes, which is quite popular.
The force majeure, exactly. The force majeure clauses in contracts, and so that when you have a pandemic like this, the company doesn't take the hit 100%.
Yes.
So they need to cushion themselves from this sort of thing, because it could cost the company a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, it seems to be that's kind of the direction everybody is just trying to come back to, maybe not the place that they used to be, but to try and mitigate as much of the damage that's been done, because those types of situations, people are now reestablishing their family at work, you know, and there's been so much damage to relationships. So it was interesting to see how businesses recover from that and how we all move forward. You know, kind of, I always say it's like a deforestation. Everything kind of gets to the ground, and then we grow again, and it's new and it's beautiful and greener and stronger. And I think that the world in itself will get to that point again. So also, just from a business perspective, do you think that now businesses should be a little bit more flexible with it in terms of from an immigration and from a jurisdiction in Rwanda, you know, on planning for the future, on how they're going to be sending people for assignments? I mean, I know that in general, people are now restructuring their companies, they're restructuring assignments. There's talk of virtual assignments. There's talk of less short assignments and much longer assignments, so people are not in and out all the time. But they can do certain things remotely. But of course, there are certain industries where physical presence will be required. But what would you say in terms of preparing for opportunities in the future for companies now in Rwanda? Is there anything that you can say that they need to be a little bit more flexible on, or do you think that things will kind of just transition back to normal?
I think that COVID shook us. It shook all of us. And I think it would be a bit too optimistic to believe that we could go back to what normal was. So I do think that companies, employers, employees, everyone has to be very flexible post-COVID to the new normal. I do think that we are going to probably reduce our traveling. I mean, COVID has proven that we could do a lot online and a lot virtually and still achieve quite a bit.
Yes.
Of course, that doesn't take away from, there's certain industries and certain things that need to be done face to face because of the human connection.
Right.
But I think that there has to be a lot of flexibility in terms of letting people work from home, and of course, give them options in terms of packages. And, if you choose to work from home versus if you come in to the office. And so, flexibility is definitely key for companies that are going to survive. And also remember, we're talking about first wave and second wave, and I don't know how many other waves.
How many waves?
So we have to be, exactly. So we actually have to be prepared for the second and the third, and make sure that your company is cushioned against something like this, putting everything on standstill. So the companies that invest a lot in their people and get to virtual meetings and virtual everything faster and get them to believe it's the new normal, the next wave will not shock them so much.
So
they'll be prepared to weather the storm.
Yes, definitely. I agree with you.
Yeah.
I think resilience is key, and I think that we all possess that type of chutzpah, they say, but to get back and to rise again. So as we wrap up, Doreen, is there anything else that you would want to share with our listeners, with within the parameters of our topic today, and give us a little tidbit there to end us off?
I guess I think that situations, COVID, immigration, being stuck where you don't want to get stuck, it's all part of life. And the people, the businesses that survive are the ones that are able to acclimatize and get with the program quickly.
Right.
And so what I would want to tell anyone is, let's not sit around pining and complaining, but let's take advantage of, the current situation. You'd be surprised how many opportunities there are.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with you 10,000%. What a nice way to end off. I can't thank you enough for joining me today. I know our listeners are going to be, receiving this really well. It is very insightful. It gives us a little glimpse into your jurisdiction and to you. I am so thrilled to be working with you. And thank you again so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Lynn. It was good to catch up.
Great. Thank you so much, Doreen. Yeah.